And we are live. Another episode of the Live with Joey, episode 5. My name's Joey. One of my best friends of all time. I'm brother from another mother, Michael Ferreira. Welcome, brother.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to this ever since you mentioned that you were going to do this podcast. I was like, okay, I can't wait to get on here. I hope I'm going to be a guest. I kind of had an idea that I would be, but thank you for inviting me here. Appreciate it.
Man, I'm so stoked. We'll just chat a little bit, kind of, shoot the breeze here before we jump into any of the heavier stuff. See how many people jump on. See, what the crowd's like, and
sounds good.
Yeah, man. Like, there's no doubt that we've talked about this kind of stuff for quite a few years, getting a platform and sharing our stories and our growth, and even our trips around the world together, and our diving and our our retreats in Guatemala and everything like that. So it's pretty cool to kind of see it come full circle, and doing what we both do now with hypnosis and the healing modalities that we use, and I don't know, and even what we spread online, or what we kind of
the message.
What's the word? Yeah, the message. Yeah, it's exactly it. Yeah. So man, it's pretty damn cool to have it all come together, and I have to see us live on YouTube. So my pleasure's all mine, brother.
No, likewise.
Yeah,
I share that very much. Yeah.
Cool.
No, it's been a crazy journey. Like, I don't know. I think some people kind of know our story, our background a little bit. Obviously, if they're watching, they probably know a lot more about you than they do about me. But yeah, we've known each other for almost 20 years. Around there, probably.
Yeah. I think it was over 20. I mean, I started so Michael and I we worked at a cable company. We were both cable guys.
Yeah.
So funny. And I was 21 when I got that job. I remember getting fired from my old man at the bar. My dad owned a bar. And my dad pretty much was done with my nonsense. And he's like, you got to go. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
spread your wings, baby.
Not a chance, buddy. I just started. Like, getting drunk on Tuesdays, getting really good tips. Like, I am not while working. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not leaving. And he's like, yeah, you're done. I'm like, shit. So that was a kind of one of my first awakenings, I guess. My dad gave it to me. It's like, I think you could just bartend and get drunk behind the bar on Tuesdays, and show up when you want to work and all that stuff. I was like, man. I went to work. Then I went to work. Did sewer and water construction, walking through like sewers, like pails of concrete. Like, they were mixing concrete above the streets, and I'd walk down the stairs with pails of cement, and just walking them, filling up. Doing whatever these guys were doing. I did that for a summer, and then I was like, oh, I can't do this every summer. There's no way. And I was a mutual friend of ours, Eric, was working at shop. I remember going to apply, and I got the job, and there's so many stories around that job.
Yeah. We get some good pictures from the Christmas party there. Man, some hilarious times.
That was 2005 or 6.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Wow, man.
So funny.
That's crazy. And then we go kind of tour the world. When did we link up again after that? It was a while. It was like 2011 or 12.
12. Yep. Yeah. And right around this time, actually, in 2012, this time of the year, because it was I think Nastasia's birthday, which was a few days ago. We picked you up at the airport, and some of your luggage was left behind there. And
how mad I was not getting my luggage that day. It was a United flight too. I remember I was fucking mad at United. We went to Chicago, and then Chicago to where we flew into Belize, and missing my luggage, no clothes, no nothing. And you picked us up with a couple bottles of rum and vodka. And
that was
a little different like that.
Oh man, so funny. That was a special time and place, because even if we were to go back to Belize now, like, we couldn't do what we did then, it's way different. And like, yeah, we're different. So yeah, the same, but different. Yeah.
Man, so different. I mean, just to think of some of the stuff you get away with when you're younger and some of the nonsense you get up to, right? Like,
yeah,
but
the Belizeans there.
Belizeans, my goodness. Well, then the one was it some cops that stopped us asking if we'd seen an escaped convict. Wasn't that what?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
They're stopping us. Stopping us. Oh, what are we doing? Oh boy, hide everything. It's like, have you seen this man? He's an escaped convict. No, we're good.
Yeah, don't pick up any hitchhikers. We're like, all right,
we're good.
We're fine.
This guy picked
no
us up.
Seatbelt. Yeah, exactly.
I think we had seats.
They were just little wooden benches, man. That's so funny.
So what were we driving in? What this was?
Land Cruiser.
Yeah, you called it? Was it Elvis?
Land Cruiser. Elvis. Yeah, yeah.
What year was that? What year was that vehicle?
It was a 1990 Toyota Land Cruiser diesel. Yeah.
Beast. Just threw all our bags up top, strapped them down, and off we went.
Yeah, there was 11 of us in there the one time.
Because we picked up. Who was was an American kid with us too? What was his name?
Kyle.
Jeez.
Yeah. He was just abandoned at the airport. His were supposed to pick him up. It's like, oh, come with us. We're going towards that way. Hey Mal, how's it going? Just reading some of the
absolutely.
Hi everyone.
Brenda just wrote. She wrote, "I love friendships that grow with you through the seasons of life." And God, have we? Like, I mean, even when we started at the same workplace, we were close, but we weren't. I mean, we had partied a few times, and we were tight. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until that trip in Central America that we really, really bonded. Because I remember that was the trip that I discovered Eckhart Tolle, and Nastasia was the one who just finished reading not The Power of Now, but A New Earth. And I remember she gave it to me, and I was like, I was kind of going through it, man. Like, I remember feeling pretty lost. Still just drinking and partying. I was, what was I, 28, 26? I don't know. I can't remember. 26 and 20, between 26 and 28, roughly.
Yeah.
And, still kind of no idea where I'm going or what I want and all that stuff. But I read that book in, I want to say like less than a week, which was which was pretty impressive for me because I hadn't written a book. I read a book it's probably since high school. Maybe some other little book that didn't really, change anything in my life. But that book was the start of my, call it whatever you want, your remembering. I want to say my remembering, because I remember sitting in the bed. Eckhart writes in the book about just being present, being present. And I was like, wow. And I think Nastasia, doesn't she have a tattoo behind her ear that says be present?
Be present.
Yeah. So I'm guessing was from his teachings or something similar.
Yeah.
But that was when everything kind of shifted for me. Not completely, because I went through the absolute shit after that still, again, for many years. But, those teachings really made me realize that there was something more.
Mm-hmm. I remember we were on Utila, walking down the street, the dirt trail.
Dirt roads.
Yeah. And I remember you were asking me some spiritual questions and stuff, and you're like, I don't have anyone to talk to about this stuff. And I remember you asking me a few questions. I was like, all right, oh man, this is my jam. Like, we had just been through, on that whole trip when we picked you up there, had been like, that was a whole spiritual journey for us. And we had just like kind of discovered yoga a few years before that. And that was really, for me, that was one of the things that kind of sparked my remembering, awakening, my journey, my spiritual journey. That was kind of like where I really started to kind of research other things and start to think that there is more. And the peace and the presence that I found through yoga. And I remember the first time I went to yoga, I came out of that class after Shavasana, I kind of woke up because I totally fell asleep. Right. I felt like I was like 3 inches taller, and I was just like, zing. Yeah. So
Man,
it's wild.
It's one of the things that really hit me the most in that book was him explaining, obviously, the monkey brain and the busy mind and how that works, and the stories we tell ourselves and the suffering that comes with it. But what really hit me, and I still use this to this day, is presence can literally take the suffering away. So I remember him talking about anxiety, or anytime you have a big emotion kind of take you over, how if you just are to focus on that emotion without a label or a judgment, and just feel the feelings in your body, the sensations and what it does for you, without labeling and judging it, it'll dissipate. And I was like, what do you mean? So I remember getting this like anxious feeling or anger. I can't remember what it was. I'm like, oh, I'll just try this. And I remember being in the bed in the hospital and just kind of being fully present with that feeling. I'm pretty sure it was anxiety, some sort of anxiety. And I just focused on it fully. Nothing else. Just focused on the anxiety wherever it was in my chest or whatever. And I breathed, and I was breathing and breathing. And I released the attachment, released the story, and it was gone in like 5 seconds. And I'm like, whoa, what the no. This lasts minutes, hours. This isn't supposed to just disappear. And I started to really realize, like, holy shit, it's the story we have behind it. Yeah, the trigger came from probably earlier. I didn't even know that, early childhood at that time, or what that looked like. But something triggered me. It created this feeling in my body. And just by being present with it, giving it space, giving it the time of day, without labels or stories, it was gone. And I did that whole trip. I would test it every time something I didn't like came up. And I would just be focused on it. I'd be like, okay, let's see what this is. And I sat with it and I breathed in it. And I was just like, okay, this is what I feel here. Gone. I'm like, what is this voodoo?
Yeah. Like the breath. So powerful.
Gone. Yeah. Like it was nothing. It was literally gone, and it would just be gone one after the other. And I was hitting like 1,000 after a while. It's just every single emotion that came up, anger, resentment, stress, whatever. I would just focus on it, be present with it, feel it, release it, done, move on with my day. And I was just like, after that trip, I remember going back to the jail because I worked in the prison. I just started at the prison. For all of you that don't know, I did 10 years in the correctional system in Canada. So I went back to work and I'm like, you don't even know. And I throw in the book at people going, you got to read this shit. Like so many of us, when we, are ready to receive these nuggets of information, this golden nugget, this piece that changes our life, we want to just show everybody.
Force it on to everyone. Yeah. It's like, take this.
Yeah.
Do this. It's going to save your life or change your life.
Yeah. Man.
Like, oh, sure. What are you talking about? Yeah. Get out of Dodge, bro.
So you talked about your yogas. So that was your big shift, or the first, what was it about the yoga?
I think it was getting into my body, making that mind body connection, and the breath, the breathing and moving. Like when I was in the studio, I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was just like focused on my breathing and just like feeling your body, because you get into posture and in the asana, and you're just like, some of them are long holds, and you're like shaking and like trying to hold your breath to hold the position, but then you just release that, and it's like, oh, and then you just are in that position, and you're like, okay, now I'm calm, I'm breathing, I'm sturdy, I'm stable, I'm secure. Like,
you put that, you put that together, and you bring that into every life scenario and situation, and you're shaking and you're rocked by everything, and you just allow it to be. And, everything kind of just, you get the sense of peace, maybe not peace, but you get this a lot, when you release that resistance, it's like, okay, here I am. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
Instead of, the chaos that our mind loves to bring into the equation.
All the stories, like pinging those stories off your history. Oh,
trauma.
Yeah. And that was kind of like around the same time I mentioned this in some of my videos if you guys have saw any of them, but just like we had we were checking all the boxes of all the things to do. Okay, get a good education so that you can get a good job. You work the job,
Laughing
get
so
so
hard
that
already.
you create this pension,
Yeah.
and then life is easy and the government will take care of you when you retire. All this stuff. I'm like going through the boxes. Okay,
Yeah.
I got a good education, top of my class. Now I can get a good job, and I was making good money. We moved to Calgary. We're in
Right.
Calgary at this time. Me and Nastasia both had good jobs, making good money. And then we are like, okay, we're doing it. And then it was like, felt so empty, so hollow. And we're just like, oh
Yeah.
my God, there's got to be something more. And then right around that time is when we bought a condo and we started making some big life moves. And then there was like all this weight, all this
Yeah.
pressure. Like, we're like, oh wow, now we're really doing it. We got car payments, we got mortgage, we got money, we're traveling, we're doing all this stuff, we got toys, we got all this stuff, like
Right.
piling up all this stuff everywhere.
Happiness is everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's all around us. Look at all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Look how happy I am, guys. Look at all this stuff. Yeah, but so then, and then right around that time is when we kind of started going to yoga, and it was like, oh, it's not about stuff, it's about the feeling. And me and Nastasia were talking about this today. Actually, we had a great conversation. We just drove to Vernon today, and on the drive we were having a conversation, and Nastasia's like, oh, maybe our time is relative to our happiness, because we were talking about time a lot, and we are like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. Time is relative to our happiness. So if you're happy and things are feeling good, it feels like you got a lot of time and you're able to get a lot of stuff done. Sometimes if you're in this feeling low and or down, depressed, whatever it might be, it's like just feels like you never have enough time to do all the stuff. So it's interesting. Yeah.
I
I
like
kind of
that.
went on a bit of a tangent there.
That's perfect, man. So you and I were talking, and I touch on this quite a bit, but like it's much like when that book hits you or the yoga practice hits you, and you want to just shout it out to everyone. You could literally have every secret, every bit of information. Even let's say there's 5 top things that will make you successful, abundant, the most beautiful love life, relationships with your friends and family. Everything that you'd want in life is like on these, on this pamphlet that I have for you. It doesn't matter if those people aren't ready to receive that message or that information, right? Like that's how unique our journey is. And we all have to go through different lessons, and we all have, man, I got friends who are deep into astrology that send me information, and deep into numerology and all these different things. And then like human design and how different we are. It's insane. Like how different we are as human beings. And we all got to go through our shit. We're not just gonna go like, let's go and then just boom into the, I don't know if we'd ever really want to.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like when you have these things for yourself, you're like, you want to give that pamphlet to someone and just be like, here, take it. You need this. It doesn't work like that, because everyone's on their own unique journey, and it's all about timing. And sometimes it's even about the person who's sharing it. That's why it's so important for people to share their stories.
Yeah, man.
Because everyone has a unique voice signature.
Yeah.
And we have all these soul contracts with every bunch of people around the world. People that we've met in person, people that we meet online. It's like you just know them. You're like, wow, I know you, right? And our voice might have the power to activate a particular person, right?
100%.
So, and even just to have this relatable story from someone that you just had met online, or you're just walking in a dog park and you bump into somebody and you strike this conversation. It's like they'll say something that you've heard 1,000 times, but they'll say it and it'll just be like bing, like just got slapped in the face.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's no different than the sayings you've heard your parents say over and over again. you know, it doesn't matter which one it is, the old cliche sayings, all of a sudden you get to an age where you hear it and it's like, those mother were right. Like, this makes total sense. What was I thinking? How did I not get this? You know, like, it's the same thing. You just kind of vibrationally align with that information eventually, and it just clicks. And it's like, I say about the pamphlet's different for me than it is for you. You know, like the information has to come through differently. It has to hit you differently. It has to come after something, you know. So yeah, I like that, man.
And it's gotta come from within you.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like if you had this pamphlet with these 5 guaranteed things that would change anyone's life, if you had the ability like to incept it into someone and make it their own idea so that it's coming from within, then it would hit them in a different way than if you're just trying to like force it down their throat, right?
Yeah. So it's like Medium Cassidy wrote, energy always recognizes energy, and similar frequencies draws you in. And, you know, she couldn't put it better. Like, you have to vibrationally be there before any of that makes any sense.
100%.
You know? Or else it's just Latin, or it's just a language you don't understand. Like, half of the stuff that I'm obsessed with now, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was just like, what? Who? What? You are nuts. Like, get to the mental hospital. Like, that's where I would have been. And I'm just like, man, this is everything. I love the magic here. Like, you know, that's a beautiful thing. So, let's talk about the zings. You and I talk about the zing. So you describe what a zing is for you. Let's help them understand what we mean by the zings.
Sure. I just got some right now. So I get the zings. I get like my hair stands up on end. I get these like feelings down my neck, my spine, and different parts of your body. But just like this sensation that comes over you. And it's like, for me, what that represents is a confirmation from that what I'm hearing is truth, that it's resonating with me, right? So I'm feeling that zing. It's like buzzing right down to my core, right? And yeah, I think I use that a lot. Like, if I'm in a conversation or if I'm listening to some content or something, and I hear something specific, and it's like, okay, that was truth for me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's important. Truth for me, right? For me, the zings come strongest when I'm about to say it, or when I do have like, you know, we channel. Everyone channels information from their higher self, from a higher place. We all do it. We're not always aware of it, but we do. When we're in that flow state, when we're aligned, when we get passionate about something, you're downloading information from the quantum, from a higher level, and my favorite zings are when I'll be like, you know, and I'm just about to say it. Maybe I'll have some hesitation. Boom, I'm like, oh, okay. And I'll just dive in. And then it just flows. And it's just like, oh, and I get this like, this warm, just like, oh, I love it, because I know it's so truthful. Like, it's just bang on, dead on. I don't have to question it. And those are like, that's something I think everyone needs to, or in my opinion, should really focus on fine tuning, like knowing what that zing is for you. Because I know you and I get it. I get it on the spine too. It's right up here in my traps, and it's like kind of going down my body, and my hair right. So it's kind of very similar, but I'm sure it's different for everybody else. Sure. So, is there any other?
A message from your inner guidance system. It's like, it's almost like a tuning fork. You just tuned into your, right? It's like, whoa, okay,
That's how I put it too, because I've had some Reiki sessions with, especially with Maria. I don't know if you worked with Maria in Guatemala, but she used tuning forks all the time. And I remember hearing the sound, and I feeling the vibration of that tuning fork around my body, and that's what it feels like to me. It's like bing, and I'm just aligned with this information, and like my everything about it. So the tuning fork thing is the best. Veronica wrote,
well put.
Overwhelming peace and feeling of calmness, right? And I think we often get those, for me anyway, I get those confirmations in moments of doubt, of like being on that fence of, and then something will come up and it'll just be like, boom. I'm like, okay, thank you. I love that.
Yeah. Even a way to like discernment is like so important, because we have this busy monkey brain and it's constantly telling us stuff, and it's, sometimes it's our ego that's jumping in. It's like, right. Constantly talking to you, right? And then you have these feelings from within, and you're like, oh, I feel like I should do this, or I should say this, or this, I think this is my move. And then you have your mind like, no,
you dissect it.
Totally. But when you hone into that inner guidance, like those zings could be your confirmation of discernment. Okay, for me, that's truth. That aligns with my spirit, my soul, my journey, right? Like,
so Marjorie asked, does it matter what side it's on? So for me, I get things on different sides all the time. But some other people might be able to touch into this. I know some say there's one side that's spiritual and one that's not, but I don't really necessarily trust that all that much. For me, it's kind of down the middle. Sometimes I'll, even the ear ringing, I'm sure you've heard, most of my ear ringing comes on the left side, but sometimes it's on the right. You got to really kind of be aware of what the signs are for you or your signals, and kind of put things together for yourself, because I think we get in a lot of, not trouble, but we get confused when we start researching too much, finding out what is in the spiritual game or the spiritual world. This is this. And it's like, oh, so it's that. So I'm getting it this way. So that can't be it. Right. So you have to really, really be, I think, aware of how you receive information, confirmation, validation, those zings, information, whatever it is, and then kind of put things together by yourself.
What is one of the ways that you use to kind of like hone that?
So I need
that you do.
Man, I can't even remember the first time I got that confirmation down my neck, but I was just like, I was saying something. It wasn't that long ago when I started to really notice it. I want to say like 2-3 years at the most. And I was like, what was that? And then I was like, that's kind of like yep, you got it. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And then and I had it again, and I was like, wait, there it is again, on something that I felt very strongly about. And then again, and then I started getting into meditation, and I was like, whoa, this is my spirit. This is like the higher version of me coming through. And I'm like, is this confirmation? And I asked the question, and it was like, boom, again. I'm like, oh. So it was like, I just had to ask. Sometimes we just got to flip and ask, especially when we're in a really nice, calm, relaxed state, a meditative state, or in that flow. You ask, you're gonna get that message. I made a video last week or 2 weeks ago about checking in with your higher self and kind of making it a practice every day, especially in the beginning. Say, okay, I want to, set the intention that I want a physical sensation when my higher self comes through, or when I'm just checking in. So you do your little mantra, or you do your little. Like I have a little thing that I do before every session with clients, and I'll kind of tap into it, and I'll feel that just like, it's like the frequency tune. There it is, 92.4. That's what I need. I'm on 92.4. Boom, and I'm getting that signal. So I think developing your own, just checking in every day, however that looks for you.
100%.
What about you?
100%. Yeah, just a quick shout out to Brittany J. That's my sister-in-law, my little sister. Yeah, I
love it.
Joey knows. She was part of the travel group there in Belize.
She was. Hi, Britt.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah. So one of the things that I do to kind of hone in on that, to strengthen that connection, is meditation. 100%. And getting in nature. I spend so much time in nature. Like I have a hunting breed dog, and she just loves to be in the forest, and so do I. So it's a good fit. I'm out there all the time, and I just have these moments of like clarity, this because I'm in this place of stillness. Gabe, yeah, brother.
My brother
Yeah.
Gabe's here
So
too.
yeah, amazing. Yeah. So that's what meditation and getting in nature for me, those are like the two biggest things to kind of really tune into
Yeah.
myself and to strengthen that connection and those zings. Like that's when I'm able to ask those questions. That's when I'm able to like have those moments of clarity, and that comes through when I get those zings.
Man, it's so funny you say it, because I think a big reason I ended up in Costa Rica is to get back to nature more frequently. And I mean, it's consistently 30 some degrees here year round, whether it's rainy season or dry season. It's the ultimate climate, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The ocean's 82 degrees. You know, I can surf and get into the water. And when I feel the most disconnected, there's three things that I find that I'm not doing. Either it's all of them or one of the three. And it's moving my body is the number one for me. That's kind of started my climb out of depression when I was younger. Is the gym. I found the gym and moving weights and getting stronger and moving my body. And the next one is obviously meditation. I talk about it all the time. It's the number one life hack that everyone has access to. In my opinion, there's nothing. I don't know if that's so free, easy, and that you can do every day to
do it anywhere. Yeah.
Right. And then it's nature. And then I noticed that a lot over the last 2 years for sure. I think moving to BC and being in the forest in the lower mainland, especially when I was in Chilliwack, the rainforest and the ferns and just the lushness of and I would be in the forest almost like 3 or 4 days a week minimum. And and I remember I started to see things differently. Like, and nature is definitely a key thing. And in here, it's the ocean. Here it's the ocean grounds me like nothing else.
100%. Water is so amazing, especially if you're like water represents our emotional aspect. So we tend to hold on to all these feelings, these emotions, and we suppress them, we push them down. It's like, oh yeah, no, that popped up, that's not valid. I'll just tuck that away there. I'm not ready to deal with it. And then you jump in a lake or you jump in the ocean, jump in a river, and it's just like whew, just washes it away. It's just like you become part of that, and it just is like whew, releases. And it helps if you have that intention when you go in. But even if you don't and you just jump in the water, you'll probably come out of the water feeling like fresh and like renewed in a way. And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that all the time. I could be struggling, frustrated, angry, just in those kind of loops of being whiny. Like I get whiny, I get bitchy, I get irritated and whatever else. And sometimes it's just going to a pool or just even taking a shower, right? And I'll set the intention, like let the shower wash that shit away. Like I'm just done with it, and I'll let it just do its thing. And sometimes even have a cry, even have just a burst of energy release, because like those times where you're in life and you just want to scream, cry. Like I cry a lot, and I'm okay. Like I love to just really. That's a way for me to release. More than screaming, I think it's just crying. I guess I don't know why it's more natural for me to just weep. Sometimes I have no idea why. It's just this burst of energy being released. I'll just bawl, and then I'll be like,
good. Yeah.
Totally,
man.
What about you? Tell me about is crying something you go to? Is that something you've naturally done, or is that something you've maybe evolved in?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't cry a lot when I was growing up, but then I started getting more in touch with that feminine aspect of myself, right? And just like allowing myself to feel emotions and to cry. And when I was growing up, I didn't necessarily see my dad cry a lot. Basically, the only time that would happen is if we were, visiting family. We were like 2,000 kilometers away from all the rest of our family, and we'd go visit them once a year, every 2 years, whatever it was. And then when we left, it was a huge emotional thing, right? So that's when I would see the emotions, and that's I don't necessarily cry that much, but I once in a while I just feel it come over me, and I just have to let it go and release it. And just like I feel way better after. It's like it's a release. That's how it works. So yeah,
it's so good. We talked a little while ago about injuries and getting hurt and messages behind it. And I don't know if a lot of people maybe understand it like we do, but tell me, like, you got hurt this last a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Hurt your
yeah.
Tell me about that and what you feel was all about.
Sure. Yeah. So I've read several books on how illness is related to, emotions and the spiritual aspect as well. So it's like when you get injured, depending on where you get injured, it can tell you a lot about that injury, emotionally, spiritually, even mentally, right? So yeah, I got injured there a couple of weeks ago in my back. I kind of threw my back out, and I've kind of threw my back out before, but this was different than I'd experienced previously. And I was like, it caught me off guard, and I was like really resisting. Like, I didn't want to go to the hospital at all. I hate hospitals. It's like I spent time in hospitals visiting people, not so much myself. I've had a few surgeries, but I just don't like being there. It's not a conducive space for healing for me. And it's like, oh, I get anxiety and stuff when I go there. And so I was resisting, but this feeling, I never felt it before. And I was like, okay, this could be something internal. I talked to a friend and he's like, oh man, you should get that checked out. Could be like a hernia, and it could be like putting pressure on a place, and it could be all the stuff. So I was like, oh crap, I better go to the hospital. And he was like, just swallow your pride. And that, I was like, huge, right? Because I was like, I'm a tough guy. I don't go to the hospital or whatever. I'm a man. And I don't cry and I don't go to the hospital. But anyway, so I went, and I had all these stories of how it was going to be. It's all this stuff going on, right? I always have to get tested, and they're going to ask me all these questions, blah, 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 blah. And I went in there, man. It was so easy. There was barely anyone there. Went straight in. The doctor was awesome. All the nurses were awesome. Checked me over. He's like, you have a herniated disc. It's like super common. If I were to sample 90 or 100 men in your age group, 90 of them would have the same thing. And I was like, oh. And I just like walked out of there like, oh yeah, I feel good now. But I was still in pain. So and I remembered these books about the healing power of illness by Louise Hay is a good one. I was just reading a book called Healing States by Alberto Villoldo and Stanley Krippner, and they were talking a lot about the spiritual aspect of healing, even for physical pain. And that sometimes that physical pain was a signal at something that was affecting you emotionally or spiritually. So I got home and I was like, I went into meditation. I really sat with that pain. And I was like, okay, what is that pain? And I went into a deep meditation, like almost self-hypnosis is what I was doing with myself. Absolutely. Went into self-hypnosis, and I just was feeling that pain. And then all these memories were coming back. Like I did a regression with myself, and I went back and I would sit there and I would feel, and like I could feel all the emotions from those times. And I was like, oh wow, like I'm getting zings right now. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I would just like sit with it and release it. And then I'd be like, oh, was that the first time I felt that feeling? And I would just sit with it. And then I would go back a little bit further. And I was like, oh yeah, like these are memories that I didn't even think of. Like I haven't thought of before, for a long time, or since that even happened. Right. So I did it again, and I would release, and I would release, and I would release. And literally that pain was just like going away. And the next day, like I was out snow blowing, like I still was not 100%, but I was out like snow blowing. I was doing a bit of shoveling, and it was like, I think part of going to the hospital and just having the doctor confirm that it was nothing serious, like
Maybe.
internal stuff, because
Right.
that was what was going on in
Sure.
my head. So that was a big one. And then just sitting with that and just releasing all those emotions from those different perceived traumatic events or traumatic events. Yeah,
That's
it's
wild
powerful.
because one regression that I led that really sticks out to me is in Guatemala again with the Maria, who's the Reiki master up there that my wife
Mm-hmm.
trained under for level one, and we went to see a few times. Um, she asked if she could do a regression with me. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, what's the issue? And she told me what she was working on, and it was a lot about confidence and stepping forward into more, and why there was resistance around owning that and just being confident enough to just do what she really was meant to do, which is healing and leading those amazing retreats and everything that she does. So we go into regression and we do the work. We release all this stuff from childhood, just this massive moment. And she messages me like a day later, and she's like, "I've had hip pain for 9 months, and I've never been able to Reiki. Regardless, it didn't matter. I didn't know why, and it was gone the minute you left. Like the minute it happened, I'm like, what?" She's like, "My hip pain for 9 months is complete, not better, gone."
Mm-hmm.
Holy
Yeah.
man! And I was pretty fresh out of hypnosis school and really just kind of starting out. This was 2000. Okay, it would have been, I guess, a year later, but that was a really big moment of aha for me. Going, wow, okay, these
Mm-hmm.
emotions are trapped in the body. It's got to move,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
got to be released, processed. But that was a massive moment for me as a healer, as a hypnotherapist. Going, whoa, there's way more than just what we see, or what we think we see. So that makes
Yeah.
sense, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point. Like this injury that I had was right around my hips. Like I was feeling it in my hips. And, some people were like, oh, maybe it's sciatica before I went to get checked out.
Right.
And, I know that we store our emotions in our hips. I learned this through doing like when we went through yoga school. So if you have like really tight hips, maybe you're storing your emotions there, and that's exactly all the things that I was going back to are these emotional traumas, these times where something happened and I didn't release it in that time. I just like held on
Right.
to it and I pushed it down.
Right.
I'm not gonna try emotions here, right? So regressions was releasing that stuff. Yeah. But I
Yeah. So
also received some go ahead.
no, you finish up. You receive what?
Yeah, some physical healing in hypnosis as well. Like I went to a past life regression. I had a tragic accident. I died from that tragic accident. And when we were doing the soul screening towards the end, some of you may know what that is, maybe not, but you could ask. I felt this like weird pain in my elbow, and I was carrying this pain in my elbow for a couple months, and I didn't know where it came from. And so in the soul screening, I was just like, oh yeah, I have this weird pain and I felt like my arm was like out crooked sideways, right? That's what it felt like while I was in hypnosis. So I mentioned that to the hypnotherapist, and they were like, okay, we'll just like release that pain on down to the cellular level. And then when I came out of hypnosis, I wasn't really thinking about it at first, but I noticed in a couple of minutes later, I was like, oh wow, I don't even, there's no pain. I haven't had that pain in my elbow since. So yeah, it's
So,
incredible.
how long was that elbow pain kind of present?
I would say for about 7 or 8 months, something like that.
So I
And
wonder.
I couldn't, yeah, and I couldn't trace it back to a specific event that would have led to that.
So I wonder if we get these pains that come up to signal that we need to heal this in the soul. because I mean, past lives, their imprints, their souls, it's soul work. So I'm wondering, it's like, okay, let's give them this pain to signal that we got to go here. Like,
I would, I would say that is accurate. Yeah, from my experience, or even with this pain in my hips, like, I've been, anyone who's on a spiritual journey, man, this is a friggin' roller coaster, right?
No, man, it's linear. It's basically just keep climbing. You're good. There's no bumps. It's not a burning roller coaster whatsoever.
Yeah, the roller coaster is not on fire. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
No, you see the flames, you smell the smoke, you're fine. Don't even worry about that. Yeah. Oh, that next section of the track that's missing, you're good.
Yeah, you'll skip right over that. Yeah. So yeah, it's totally a roller coaster, and that was the thing. And I love how you put that. It's like this little signal for us. Okay, now it's time for you to look at this, and it's part of that, your evolution. This is holding you back, dude. Like, look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
We're, you hear this. I've heard this as a kid. You'll never get anything more than you can handle. There's more of I think there's a God state. God will never give you more than you can handle. And so it was always kind of linked to religion for me, which I had a lot of issues with for a long time. But anyway, now that I look at this, and I've had some of the deepest traumas of my life surface over the last 6 months that I wasn't even aware of, I 100% believe this. And some of the stuff that's come up was dark, really heavy. And 30 years later, I finally started to get pieces of it coming to my consciousness, from the depths. And I'm like, what is this? Well, even though I do this every day, I work with clients every day, and I understand what the subconscious does. I see how repressed these memories are. But when it happens to you, you're like, what the fuck is happening? How is this real? But I realize more than ever, if I would have had these memories surface, even in my first rounds or few rounds of hypnosis, I don't know if I was solid enough to survive it, like get through it. And meanwhile, it took me 4 or 5 years to do my work and continue evolving for me to get ready for that next blast of the burning roller coaster. Right. And I was like, okay, well, it came up. Now I'm solid, more solid than I've ever been. I'm ready to tackle this. I'm ready to release it, heal it, process it. So that saying is a really big one, and God will never give you more than what you can handle. I can't remember exactly how it's written, but it's something along those lines. And it's absolutely true. So it's also terrifying because you never know what's around the corner. As soon as you're like, man, I did it. I got it.
Yeah. You're like, you're going out real quick.
Oh man.
And then, so that's it's like,
you cut out there.
We're on this journey, and you
cut out there if you want to restart what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah. So that's something that we talked about, is like, when we're on this journey and we have these breakthroughs, these aha moments, these moments of clarity, breakthroughs, right? And we're like, oh yeah, we're on the top of the roller coaster, just about to go down. Like, you're feeling it right up there. There's that honeymoon stage, right? It's like everything is good.
So good.
You're in bliss.
It's so good though, Mike.
Yeah, I know. And you want to stay there, and you think, oh yeah, I'm enlightened now, right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm healed. And you're ready to take on the world. And that's great. And I say, experience that. And enjoy it. But be ready, be prepared that because it is an evolution. You mentioned we're evolving through this journey, right? So you're now more evolved. You're now more strong in your spirit, all aspects of yourself, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, even physically. As we're doing this work, we're releasing some of these physical pains even, right? So you're ready for more. And what's going to come next? There's going to be something coming next. Like, I feel like as long as we're here on this playground, this school, this physical, most dense aspect, right? As long as we're here, there's work to do. And I say, just like, be ready, but also know that it's a pendulum, right? There's a pendulum that's.
I've been fidgeting with this basically this whole time, and you're the one who taught me this. And I think you might have learned it from Chatty or someone in Guatemala. But when you explained this to me, it really hit me harder than anything else when it comes to those moments of jubilation and excitement, and that high vibrational state that we can sometimes hold on to for quite a while. Like I've had weeks, months of just really high vibe stuff, and it's beautiful. And we're here, and we get attached to it, right? And something comes along, and it's just like woof, bam, and it slams your head into the concrete. And then you start to go, what happened? What did I do wrong? What am I not doing? Oh no, my practice isn't good enough. I didn't meditate for 2 days. And you start dissecting everything.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine explained, and this came through a channel of hers. She said, the key to all of that, like, and I remember what you said. You said you want to try to be up here, right? Where it's attached, not where it's swinging, and try to be just, kind of easy.
The further, the closer you are to that point, the less you're going to swing. So you can observe, you could be aware of, oh yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm great. I'm in a great place right now. And you're not necessarily like singing from mountaintops and doing whatever, but you're just.
I do it. I'm sorry, I do that.
Yeah.
I'm singing, I'm dancing.
That's totally great. Yeah. Yeah.
But what my friend had said is much like, kind of like what you say, kind of be up here, but it's knowing that let's say you're a 10 up here and you love it. Your 2s and 3s are just as beautiful as your 10s. If you can just learn to be like, wow, this feels different, but to be solid, it's not as maybe exciting or energetic. But if you can be conscious of being in a 2 and a 3 and being like, you know what, this is just what it is today. And that's beautiful. And I love me anyway. And that sometimes just that awareness and that being there can go from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 in like a matter of minutes, hours, just by being present and being okay with not being a 10.
That's right. Yeah.
Appreciating every level, because man, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love the 10s. I love jumping out of planes. I love diving with sharks. I'm a dopamine guy. Like I love all the excitement. So when I'm on a 10, I love riding that momentum. And I think you get better at staying there. You really do. I think you get better at staying there, but it's the attachment to it. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm never dipping down again, man.
High vibe for life. It's just 2 black eyes and a broken femur. Like you just know that didn't go well. But it's man, it's the attachment to it. But just honoring every level, I think, is really, really, really key. Yeah. Where else am I going to go with this? I had something else, but I don't. Oh yeah, you just already touched that. What is your calling? Like what's firing you up right now in your life?
Hypnotherapy, man, just working with people, and like I have this vision of a world filled with people that love themselves fully, and just knowing as you love yourself fully as you can remember that love for yourself, how you'll be for yourself and how you'll be for others. Like I just imagine this world filled with a bunch of healed, amazing people who are totally loving on themselves and able to love others. And that's what's getting me fired up, is just loving seeing the transition, right? Like I've experienced it myself. I know it's such a great feeling to have these moments of release and clarity and all this stuff, and then seeing that with others and being able to facilitate that for others is just it's a beautiful thing. And I'm like, it
blows my mind every day I do it, because it often happens on the days where I'm not when maybe a 3 or a 4, and then I get to, and sometimes I could even get into the the ego might get in the way and go, oh, I got 2 more sessions today, or I'm busy today, or I'm you kind of get in this bit of a negative spin on things. And then I get into I lead whether it's my group or one-on-one, and a moment of transformation happens before you, like right before your eyes, and you can see that everything happen, and you're just like, like it's insane. Like how many years later for me, and I'm just like, I can't even put words to that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then seeing these people go from, because that's the thing with this deeper work, whether it's hypnotherapy or, shaman work or breath work, in the end, it's a deep emotional release. It's a healing from within, regardless of the modality you're using. When these moments happen, they're undeniable. They're undeniable. And some of us who are going through this journey have been in therapy for 10 years, have been doing different things for over and over again. And then they find that one thing that clicks with them, or the practitioner or therapist or whoever, and it just goes boom. Because that's how quick it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, it doesn't have to be years and years and years of talking about. Eventually, you'll get to a place where you just are ready, and it could just be the timing. Maybe it's, you just switched to somebody that you were working with. Maybe you just moved to a new area. Maybe somebody came into your life who said one little thing, and you're just like, boom, tuning fork, zings. Yeah.
I've never been so excited. Like, we hear about synchronicities. There are no coincidences. Things happen for a reason. I've never been so just bang on for that, because the amount of little things that have kind of fallen into place in order, this last 6 months for me, I'm just like, all right, I'm just in full surrender mode to what's for me, and complete surrender to my knowing. And some of it is conscious knowing and some of it is not. But I'm just like, Jesus, take the wheel, we're good. Let's go. And the more you do that, the more you're going to know when to answer the call and answer the doorbell, when it does ring.
Yeah. 100%. And getting more in tune with your inner guidance system, right? With making those connections to your higher self, your spiritual self, your ancestors, your angels, your guides, whatever you want to call it. It's like, once you make consistently making that connection, and then little things happen, and you know where it's coming from, and you trust that, and you make that move, and it's like, and then the next thing happens, and just it's easy, and it falls into place, and it's like bing, 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 bing. Yeah.
Devin just wrote, Michael, your self-love meditation is what really woke me up to the spiritual side.
Wow, cool. Right on. That's amazing. I love it. Yeah, meditation is so powerful. I joke around, we have this idea that meditation is sitting in full lotus and for 3, 4, 5 hours at a time, whatever it might be, right? Wearing the white robes or whatever. But
white briefs for me.
Yeah, tidy whiteys.
Only meditating.
So of course, I mean, once you got your thing, you got to keep doing it, right? So it doesn't have to look a certain way. It can be different for everyone, and it helps sometimes to do a guided meditation, just joining in with your guided meditations. It's so powerful. It's part of the concept of surrendering, right? You're able to surrender, and you just follow along, and you kind of just forget yourself, and you go on this little journey, and next thing you know, you're just like, it's over, and you're like, oh my God, that was crazy.
Well, it's funny because I think even if you were to see, regular meditation practitioners or masters, if they were to come to my lives on Sunday, they'd be like, this isn't really meditation. And it's like, you're right. I'm just really wanting to provide a safe space for someone to have an experience within themselves. And that's what I want to provide, only that. And whatever that ends up being is perfect, because it's so unique. And the higher self is going to guide every one of us to what we need. Sometimes it's profound. Sometimes it's just peace and clarity. Sometimes it's nothing. and it's okay.
Yeah.
But like, it's Sunday night meditation. Sometimes it's just this crazy journey of self-love and or forgiveness. And
Yeah. Huge. Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of it. It's just so unique to everyone. And I don't know. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it too. It's great.
So tell me this. I got my final two questions, Mike. You might have seen these before. My first question for you is, I'd like for you to share something vulnerable with us that maybe you haven't shared too much of in the past. Is there something you could, share with us here?
Yeah, I knew this question was coming, and still I feel unprepared. But yeah, so something, and I just was kind of thinking about this more lately because, like I said, it's a roller coaster. The journey is absolutely a roller coaster, and sometimes you're just like sailing, and things are flowing and easy, and you think you've arrived, and you're like, I'm just gonna stay here forever. And then stuff starts happening, decisions that we make or whatever, and start getting to this low place. And I don't know, there's probably very few, I might have mentioned it on a live before, but there's very few people that I've actually told this to, is that, I've had, thoughts of suicide before. Like, I just have got to a place where I'm just like, it would be so much easier if I wasn't here. Like, and then, like, I've never got to the point where I've, even thought of how I would do it.
Had a
I've never
plan or
gotten
anything like
there. No, and I know that I would never do it. Like, I just like feel so low, and I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't go on. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to be here. Like, oh, that's a really tough place to be. If anyone has ever experienced that. It's only been a couple, like probably 3 times in my life where I got that low. But I also, like, part of that is, we talked about Elvis, the Land Cruiser that we had. And that was something that happened with that whole journey. We ended, like, we came back, that was one of the times that I got to a really low place, feeling like broke, feeling destitute, didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go from there. We were in BC. All the rest of the family was back home in Ontario, and I was missing everyone, and I didn't know how to, like, express that to Nastasia, even that I felt like I wanted to be, which she rarely ever does at the farm in Ontario. And I was just like, oh, and we had, in the morning, we had a little fight, and I was just like angry. And then we went to town to go and make arrangements to get a little camper or something, and driving, and something fell on the floor, and I reached down, and we we're kind of wandering a bit, and there's parts in the truck that needed to be replaced but didn't have the money to do it, which was another thing that was weighing me down. And Saj was like, you're swerving all over. I'm like, I'm not swerving. And I just had this, like, snapped into, like, anger, rage. And I was like, this is swerving. And I started, like, the truck started going, and I, like, did it again, and it was going, and then I lost control. This is metaphoric and literal. I lost control, and we went sideways, and I'm like, gut sings here. And we were, like, sliding sideways on the highway, and this is in, like, the fall, dry roads, nothing, right? So I felt like something weird happened in the truck. Maybe some part in the front let go at that time, because I was really, like, going, and we ended up flipping and rolling a couple of times, like end over end in the ditch, landed on the roof on my side. The roof was, like, down across my head and my shoulder like this. I had my hand on the wheel, and it was pinned between the roof and the steering wheel and the ground, because we're upside down. And I had a moment where everything just went dark, quiet, black. And I was like, the next thing that I recall is hearing Nastasia scream my name. And I was like, she's like, Michael, Michael, Michael. And I heard, and I was like, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And like her side of the vehicle was like she had this force field, this bubble.
Wow.
All the glass was intact on her side. She opened up the door and walked out. She had a little piece of, she was barefoot. She had a piece of glass that was in her toe, and that was it. And I was pinned in the truck for like 45 minutes, jaws of life to cut me out of there.
Dude.
And I'm in there, and I'm just like, my hands pinned. I'm trying to do all this stuff to try and get it out. I'm trying to pull, but I didn't want to like damage anything. I could still move my fingers, and I thought about it later on, and actually just in the last probably year, I realized, because I remember Nastasia said you were trying to kill me or something, because we had this fight, and she's like, what, were you trying to kill me or what? And I was like, I had this realization, like, oh my God, was I trying to kill myself? I was like, oh my God. And I don't know for sure, but with the quiet, the darkness, the way that it happened, I don't know. I feel like I might have had a little moment where I was going to the gates or something here. And I remember Chatti from the pyramids telling the story of her daughter being in an accident, and Chatti herself went into meditation and made like a contract for her to continue, So I feel like, it's possible. I can't say for sure, but I feel like that because after that happened, like we just had this decision. Okay, we're going back to Guatemala to do the sun course. We'd done the moon course already. It's like, we're going back. I need to go deeper. I'm here for a reason. Something happened. So,
dude.
Yeah. So many times people ask, oh, what happened to the truck? And I was like, I'd always make up this story. Oh, like something let go in the front end. No, I had a moment of like fucking rage and anger. Sorry, pardon my French there, but anger and rage, and I lost control. That's what's up.
Dude, I don't even know. Every week I ask this question, it gets deeper and deeper and more. I think I just got to say thank you for being open enough and vulnerable enough to share that, because I know that's not easy to admit.
Oof.
That is not easy.
There's very few of my close friends that even know that story. Still, we'd make up, oh, we rolled it or whatever. Wow. So, yeah, it's not easy for sure. And it was one of those terrible times in my life, and I just was like, wow, I'm so glad nothing happened to Nastasia and myself.
Right, of course. So, thanks again. And that's a perfect kind of segue into learning that lesson and kind of seeing everything come together there. What does it mean to be alive now? What does that mean for you?
Oh, being alive, and I knew you were going to ask this question again, man. For me, it's like that flow, being in that flow state, the synchronicities. It's like, I remember when we were traveling, we didn't have a plan. We just knew that we wanted to go for a road trip, and just like, initially we did have a plan, but as we started going, we were just like, somebody would suggest something and we would just be open to it. If it resonated with us, we're like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, let's do that. So if you can get into a place where you can just trust and follow those synchronicities, that to me is the feeling of being alive is just like going from one synchronicity to the next. That's and if you've ever experienced it, you know what I'm talking about, and it feels amazing. Yeah,
dude, that was so much fun.
Just heal the part of yourself for sharing. Yeah. honestly, I feel like I was getting emotional. I was having a hard time. I was even going to say that, but yeah, I do feel lighter. And yeah, thank you for providing me with this space, Joey. Thank you for here. It's easy to talk to because you do allow for this space. Like I feel safe here, even with everyone that's here. I, I trust you fully. I respect you deeply. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of you for where you were and where you're going and what you're doing now. It's been beautiful to watch, honestly. And you're just like shattering all these preconceived ideas of how a person should be. You know, you're a dad, you're busy, you can't travel with kids, all this stuff, you're doing it, right? You're got this great job with the corrections government job, you got this golden handcuffs, you got to stay in it, you're crazy, you can't leave that. Shattered it, and you're just doing you. And yeah.
Well, brother, I means everything coming from you. I've known you for a long time. I love you, man, and I'm just honored to have you, man. And I'm honored to have you on my show, and I'm sure it won't be the last time. And I know there's big things coming for both of us, so let's just keep leading with our heart. And yeah, thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. I love you all.
I'm fine.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Fine. Thank you, everybody, so much. Next week, same time.
It's minute 11 or hour 11 right now.
Perfect time to end it. Thank you all for being here. Michael, thank you again, brother. If you missed some of this, live on YouTube, it'll be up within minutes after we end here. Again, every Wednesday, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. Check my links for everything. Michael, where can they find you? Let's talk about you and your social media.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Instagram and TikTok at Dancing Wind Wellness. And there's links in the bio to my link tree through both of those avenues. And I'm going to start posting some stuff on YouTube as well. So there'll be links to that. Yeah. And if you like clinical hypnotherapy, I have links in there. I do free strategy calls. So yeah, just reach out, connect. If you feel like we vibe, I'm
Absolutely.
here.
Love it. Thank you, Mike. All right, everybody, have an amazing night. We'll see you all Sunday.
Cheers. Yeah. Love you. Thank you.